Hey there! Today I will show you how to make mushroom cream soup. It has a silky structure and a really nice combination of flavors. I will also show you a couple of tricks regarding mushroom cooking. So if you got fresh mushrooms at home, it's a really good way to use them. Now let's get to the recipe.
For this recipe you will need mushrooms. In this case these are forest mushrooms. You can use any types of edible mushrooms, that's totally fine. I'm also using oyster mushrooms. I didn't wash them. Usually you should not wash mushrooms unless there's dirt. If there's dirt and soil you can slightly rinse them, but make sure not to soak them in water because it will make them lose their flavor. Then I reserved a little bit of mushrooms for decoration. I'm also using 20 grams of dried mushrooms. All the weights of the ingredients will be in the description as usual. I'm using coconut milk. You can replace it with heavy cream, black pepper, potatoes, onions, garlic and carrots, which is optional. I'm just using a little bit of carrots left from the previous recipe to give the soup a good flavor. And today I'm going to use a slightly different and traditional technique for frying mushrooms. So traditionally you're supposed to put mushrooms on a super hot pan. It should be extremely hot, and you're supposed to add a lot of oil because mushrooms soak a lot of oil, and you have to add more and more and then give them some color, some crust, and then in the end you will get flavorful mushrooms. Today I'm using a little bit different technique. I recently learned this. So I start by putting them on the cold pan and I start frying them. My goal is to make them produce a lot of water. First I set medium temperature. I'm gonna make them produce as much water as possible and evaporate that. And when they reduce in volume, I will add a little bit of butter and a little bit of vegetable oil. And I fry them. And they are not supposed to soak so much oil, so they won't be greasy in the end. I'm gonna try this technique today. And by the way, I can also add my oyster mushrooms. While they're producing water, I can start cutting vegetables. It doesn't really matter how you cut them, because we're gonna make cream soup, we're gonna blend them, but I prefer to cut them finely because I want them to be cooked quickly, and also it will give them more surface for browning, therefore more flavor. And I'm cutting them in small dices. Just like that. Meanwhile I keep an eye on my mushrooms. Sometimes I stir them. I can slightly increase the heat to evaporate more water. And now I'm going to share a little secret with you. So whenever you make soup or any liquid dish, its shelf life equals to its most expired ingredient. For example, if you make a whole soup and you add one potato that is about to go bad, it's almost expired, or worse yet, it's already expired, your soup will not last. Because the bacteria in this potato will just reproduce in the entire soup and it will contaminate the rest of the dish. So you may have sometimes a temptation not to throw something away because it's expensive but it's expired. In this case, just throw it out. It's much better to do that because it will spoil the rest of your dish. Now I'm going to cut a carrot. I'm also adding a little bit of salt to the mushrooms, and as you can see the water almost evaporated. I will wait for the moment until it's completely gone. And that's the moment when I'm adding just a little bit of vegetable oil and a tiny knob of butter. Mushrooms are not able to soak a lot of oil anymore. I'm going to reduce the heat till medium-high, and I'm also adding my vegetables. And saute that for about 5 minutes, constantly stirring. Meanwhile, I'll cut the potatoes. Doesn't matter how, we're gonna blend them in any case. Don't forget to keep an eye on your mushrooms. It's been 5 minutes, they're full of flavor, there is the crust, and I'm going to deglaze it with white wine, which is totally optional. You can use water. So, and your goal is to scrape everything from the bottom, because it will give the soup a really nice color and flavor. I'm making sure that there is no white wine. I don't want to have any acidity in my soup. And after that I will add a lot of water. All the wine evaporated. Now I'm adding water. I don't know how much, I'm just eyeballing it. Just make sure that it covers everything here. And now I'll transfer it to a deeper bowl, to a deeper pot. And I bring it to a boil. After bringing it to a boil, I'm adding the potatoes. It's very important to add them after bringing it to a boil, not before, because of the rule that I mentioned in my previous recipes. If you want to know what rule I'm talking about, check out the link in the description. And after that I'm adding my dried mushrooms to boost the flavor. I already added black pepper while I was frying the vegetables. Add salt and a little bit more water. Now cook it for about 10 minutes until everything is cooked. When you cook it, set the lowest heat. You don't need it to boil. It's better to cook soups when the temperature is low. It's been 15 minutes. All the vegetables are fully cooked. Now it's time to blend it. When you transfer anything hot to another bowl, always do it from yourself, not toward yourself, because it splashes, and if you do this toward yourself, you can burn yourself. Medium speed. Now it's done. I'm going to add coconut milk. After you mix cold coconut milk and hot soup, you must bring it to a boil, otherwise your soup won't last long. So after mixing it now, I'm going to strain it and bring it to a boil one more time. You don't have to strain it, it's not mandatory, it's optional, but I prefer to do this because I want it to have a really silky texture. And then I just strain it using a big spoon. That's the end result. Make sure to remove any leftovers from the bottom, and you can see it got a really nice silky texture. Let's bring it to a boil. I'm going to add a little bit more salt. When you cook any cream soups, you need to constantly stir it on the bottom, preferably with a heat-proof silicone spatula, because otherwise it will burn and you can ruin your entire soup if you don't stir it. So do this all the time. Now I'm going to taste it. Oh my god, that's incredible. It's just incredible. The flavor is astounding. It has all the flavors of these mushrooms. Also, the dried mushrooms gave an additional taste. I think of it as a concentration of mushroom flavor that you can taste in 1 tablespoon. It's just amazing. Let's wait until it boils. Now it's boiling. I'm turning off the heat and I will serve it. And here is the final plating. I served it with heavy cream, fried mushrooms and a little bit of black pepper. The soup is really delicious. It has an amazing mushroom flavor and it's not difficult to make. It takes like 20 minutes. So I encourage you to try it at home. It's really good. If you like the video, give it a like. Let me know in comments what you think about this recipe and subscribe to my channel to see my new videos. Thank you for watching.